Welcome into Extra Innings with Pleasure right here on San Antonio Sports Star, 94.1 FM, sasportstar.com. I am James Pledger. Thanks for joining me, however you may be joining me, whether that's on 94.1 on your FM dial. You may be locked in listening live at sasportstar.com, be our AA Best Bail Bonds audio player, or if you happen to be watching live on YouTube, that's right, we stream all of our shows on YouTube, whether that's the Morning Huddle, the Blitz, or right here on Extra Innings with Pleasure. Just go to YouTube, search SA Sports Star. Go ahead, like, subscribe. You can comment along with the show as it happens. Or, reach out the old-fashioned way. 210-656-ESPN, 656-3776 if you want to be a part of the conversation. I always appreciate when you are. If there's anything you want to talk about and get off your chest. This morning on the Morning Huddle, Aggie Media Days wrapped up yesterday. Mike Elko talking as the final head coach to speak at SEC Media Days, and the Morning Huddle was talking about the reaction of what the takeaways from Mike Elko at SEC Media Day was.
The SEC Media Days are underway.
Oh, they're done now.
Well, yeah, they are done now, I guess. Mike Elko, though, talked about Texas coming to the SEC and what kind of effect that it's had on the entirety of their program.
I don't know that the first part of your question, I don't know that impacts anything. I think I said this last year, Texas A&M and Texas have been recruiting against each other for years, regardless of conference. I don't know that conference affiliation will ever impact that. Obviously we take a lot of pride in our ability to go out and recruit the best players we can to Texas A&M. And that's something you obviously have to do in order to be successful.
I agree with that.
Okay. Well, here's the other thing, though. And I think you even as an Aggie have to admit this. He says, I don't think conference affiliation has anything to do with it, except when Texas was in the Big 12 and A&M was in the SEC, all people said was, we're going to get SEC talent.
But Texas could have gotten SEC talent in the Big 12. They did get SEC talent in the Big 12. Now, I think Texas coming to the SEC greatly affected LSU, and it affected Georgia, and it affected Alabama. There's always the age-old question, A&M or Texas. And that never went away. And even while A&M had been long in the SEC, we were still recruiting the same dudes. And it's a choice. There's an environment in Austin and an environment in College Station, and they're so disparate that it's one or the other. I don't think it ever affected A&M. I don't. And A&M reaped the benefits of being in the SEC while Texas was being coached by Charlie Strong. So there was a time when we were pulling the SEC talent and Texas wasn't. But that was more a product of their coach, not their conference.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I don't think it's changed at all. I really don't. I think we've always chased guys, and there's certain people that have to make a decision. And I think it's always going to be there, where Alabama started losing some dudes and Georgia probably lost some dudes, but A&M and Texas, they were going to fight it out regardless.
And here's where Mike Elko lies to us.
But I think what I'm most excited about is the fact that we've got quarterback Marcel Reed primed to take a huge jump for us this year. I think he's had a phenomenal offseason. I think he's put on some necessary strength and mass to kind of hold to the rigors of SEC football. I think he understands now what it takes to be an SEC quarterback week in and week out, and really excited for him to go out and become the difference maker that we know he's capable of being this year.
Well, I think as an Aggie, sure, why not? All I'm really looking for, is why don't we have the same quarterback start 5 consecutive games? I don't care which quarterback it is. Let's keep one quarterback healthy enough to start half the season. And if we can do that, that is a hell of a step forward. We haven't done that in 4 years.
That's not true.
Start the season with 5 consecutive games.
Start the season.
That's what I'm saying. Start and finish the season with the quarterback we want to finish with.
Because Marcel Reed did start the last 5 games of the season last year and went 1-4 with a win over New Mexico State.
So I mean that, and he was our third quarterback. I mean, let's be real here. Let's just have one quarterback to start the year consistently without just chaos and its injury and its scheme and remember when Petrino showed up and they were going to try an AD and an offensive coordinator that was kind of with Jimbo, but they didn't talk. Just give a guy a game plan and keep him upright for 5 games. I think that would just be a monumental straight ahead thing. And the thing that I will give some credence to is Marcel isn't going to have to do nearly as much because the team by the time he took it over was decimated. He's got as good a running back room as there is in the country. He's got 2 running backs that could legitimately really carry this football team if they go that route. So he's not going to have to be all things like he was before. But let's not kid ourselves. He is a placeholder. He is not the guy they wanted to have playing here. He was not when he was recruited here. They never believed that he would be a starter.
No.
And here we sit. So we're putting lipstick on a pig, but I'll tell you, we can keep that lipstick on if you'll just keep him upright. If we could just keep the same game plan to start the season, so at least we know who and what we are. We haven't seen that in 4 or 5 years. And the last time we had a quarterback play consistently was Kellen Mond. So that's my highest aspiration right now, is just to have a quarterback that is standing tall by week 5. That's all I want.
Yeah. The idea that everyone is, I said this yesterday about Arch Manning. Like, I think that there are people who are expecting things from Arch Manning that maybe there's the expectations are higher than they should be, given that we don't really know a lot about him. We haven't seen very much of him. Well, we've seen quite a bit of Marcel Reed, and I didn't like it.
Well, and again, he had 1 starting offensive lineman. He had 3 wide receivers gone, his 2 running back. The team was decimated by the time the season was done. And he's a completely different quarterback than the ones that were there before. So the game plan, the schemes changed. It was chaos last year. It was terrible. And
his best showing was against LSU, when they basically
just run around.
All he did was he threw 2 passes in that game.
Yeah, just run around.
Now to be fair, Connor Wegman stunk too, and they sat him and they're like, "Dude, you ain't beating LSU like this." So they had the element of surprise against LSU with Marcel Reed, and I think it caught him off guard, and that's a huge win.
It was because he ran around.
But then they said, "Okay, well, we're going to stick with Marcel Reed."
Well, there was nobody else, dude. There wasn't like there was somebody sitting on the bench that they could have brought in. They were literally to their last dude. All this being said, of the top 10 teams in the SEC, I'm not sure A&M has a quarterback that even ranks there. Their quarterback is in the bottom half of if the bottom third, maybe.
Look, I don't hate Marcel Reed as a quarterback. I don't know if he's elite. I've seen things that I liked. I obviously thought he was the best quarterback on the Aggies roster last year. They did nothing to upgrade that. Is that good enough? Is he going to take a big enough leap to compete with Stockton and Georgia and Alabama and Nussmeier and LSU and Texas and Arch? I don't know. But I know they're solid everywhere else across the board. They have 3 wide receivers. They've got a couple of running backs. They've got depth. And it's going to fall to Marcel Reed. It'll be interesting to see kind of how those things play out, because Texas's A&M is picked to finish 8th in the SEC right now, I think, as it currently stands. You heard Laura Rutledge yesterday talking about she was high on them and list the reasons why, and Mike Elko taking over the defense again, and all that's going to be great. They need solid quarterback play, which Rob's right, they haven't had since Kellen Mond left. And Aggie fans couldn't wait to get rid of him for a long period of time there either. And it's not like that Connor Wegman was a 5-star. Like, they brought in quarterbacks. None of them have panned out. And you could say the same thing after Colt McCoy with the Texas Longhorns. They brought in the quarterbacks, the Garrett Gilberts, and they never the Shane Buechels. They never panned out. Quinn Ewers brought us back to relevancy. Can Arch take that next step? Because that's what it's always going to be about with programs like Texas A&M. Can you take that next step? And right now, A&M's looking to get back to where they were so that they can then take that next step. But right now, they have to get back to where they were, because quarterback is a very important position, especially in college football today. And when Mike Elko talks about he's poised to make a big jump, all I know is he better be poised to make a big jump, because that conference demands it from that position. There's a reason that South Carolina is picked third in the SEC right now, because JT Sellers, he is going to carry that team. And we saw it last year. Quarterback play is as important as it's ever been, especially in college football. I mean, we saw Boise State, once they finally hit that wall named Penn State and ran into that opponent. You take away Ashton Genty, you got to have that counterpunch. The problem is you're playing Penn State or Ohio State, or you're playing some sort of playoff team every other week in the SEC and in the Big Ten. Those two conferences cannibalize each other, which is why they each want 4 automatic bids into the postseason, because they are the best of the best. This is Extra Innings with Pledger. I am James Pledger right here on San Antonio Sports Star, 94.1 FM, sasportstar.com. When we come back, Micah Parsons, well, his number just went up again. What does that mean after TJ Watt's extension? And does RJ Ochoa need a shoulder to cry on after it? We'll discuss as we'll play some of RJ Ochoa as he joined Joe Rangel on the Blitz. That's coming up here on Extra Innings with Pledger on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
94.1 San Antonio Sports Star and the Gomez Law Firm present the second annual Back to School Drive. Saturday, August 2nd from 11 till 1 or while supplies last at the Gomez Law Firm, 2943 Moss Rock Drive. Free backpacks and school supplies for all school-age children while supplies last. So don't be late. Presented by the Gomez Law Firm, 2943 Moss Rock Drive. Sponsored in part by Las Palapas, Array, the College of Healthcare Professionals, and 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
This is a special notice to U.S. taxpayers owing $10,000 or more to the IRS. Tax Relief Advocates is urgently notifying taxpayers that tax relief initiatives are now available that may significantly reduce or eliminate what you owe. If you're afraid of an IRS lien, levy, or wage garnishment, don't lose hope. You can now take advantage of these current relief programs to end all collections, reduce the amount you owe, and resolve your tax problem. Even if you have years of unfiled tax returns or are already in a payment plan, you may still qualify for significant relief. Struggling taxpayers can now get relief they need during these hard economic times. A hotline has been established by Tax Relief Advocates for you to call and see what you qualify for. They are A+ rated with the BBB and have over 1,000 5-star reviews. Don't wait. Call 800-575-7147. 800-575-7147. That's 800-575-7147, or simply visit TRA.com.
Must qualify for enrollment. Results may vary.
It's back to school season, and Clorox is donating 2 million disinfecting wipes to classrooms across America. Because back to school means things can get a little bit messy. Just ask second grade teacher Mr. Torres.
Put me and just one Clorox wipe on a team? We can take on crayon smudges, sticky fingerprints on every surface, sneezes on the door handle, juice box explosion by the sink, snack crumbs, and don't even get me started on the bathroom passes.
Clorox disinfecting wipes. Teacher's #1 wipe.
Think about it. Bathroom passes.
Clean feels good. Based on unit sales data.
You know, the Rue Pub is proven to be the best place to watch games with those 3 massive 170-inch screens and TVs all around. All the games, all the fights, and when you show up at the Rue Pub, show up hungry. The food is fantastic. Open daily at 11. Great for lunch, great for dinner, great for late at night, and the best place to watch a game. Just down from the big blind, right next to the Angry Elephant. The Rue Pub, 281 in Redland Road. We'll see you at the Rue.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRANGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
If you've got a gas-powered engine, keep it running like new at every fill-up. Stable in-season protection is your engine's preventative medicine, cleaning and protecting the entire fuel system in season. In outdoor power equipment, prevent gum and varnish buildup that could cause a rough or non-running engine. For cars and trucks, increase fuel efficiency and power by removing deposits, ensuring your engine's long-term health. Stable outperforms the competition in independent lab testing. So at every fill-up, start with Stable.
Get in the zone, AutoZone. Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Hey, that's the spirit. Right now, we're celebrating free with a free STP oil filter when you buy 5 quarts of oil and free Duralast brake pads when you buy 2 rotors. Like always, free battery testing, charging, and recycling at every store. Celebrate free at AutoZone, now through July 28th. Get in the zone, AutoZone. Restrictions apply.
Hi, Dr. Damaso Oliva Jr. here, candidate for Ray Fail 77. I invite you to join us for the 170 Grander Poker Tournament on Saturday, August 2nd. Proudly sponsored by Thomas J. Henry and benefiting the Ray Fail 77 Scholarship Fund. We're putting $170,000 on the table, and it could be yours. The top women's and men's finishers each win $50,000. Register now at TexasHold'emSA.com.
It's Extra Innings with Pledger on 94.1 San Antonio's Sports Star.
Welcome back into Extra Innings with Pledger here on 94.1 San Antonio's Sports Star. Appreciate y'all rolling through with me tonight. Take you down to the bottom of the hour as we got Rangers baseball coming up. Robert Spencer on our YouTube page says, "What? RJ Ochoa whining about something? Shocking." Look, he has a very justified reason to be as mad as he is because it's seemingly the exact same situation happening over and over and over again. And I get where that can be frustrating. Earlier today on the Blitz, RJ joined Joe Reinagel as they were discussing basically, well, he started off because we had started the previous segment talking about De'Aaron Fox and how that should potentially end up going for the San Antonio Spurs, because there are a lot of fan articles talking about whether they should trade him because of the 3-guard lineup or not give him the extension. And since they were talking about that in the previous segment, RJ also being a Spurs fan along as a Cowboys fan. So we got RJ Ochoa on the Buyers Barricades guest line. Here is some of that interview.
Listeners, and I know you've been following the Spurs. You're a Spurs fan. I know this, right?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay. So there's been a lot of headlines lately. I'm sure you've seen some of them that what are the Spurs going to do with their glut of guards now that they've got Dylan Harper, Stephon Castle, and De'Aaron Fox? De'Aaron Fox due for an extension. A lot of people saying, well, maybe you don't need to extend that guy. Where would you go? Would you get rid of De'Aaron Fox or do something else?
No, I think you just deal with it. You don't have to get rid of a surplus because you want to. Ultimately, I mean, when they traded for him, it was like the best day of all time. When they traded for him, it was like, finally, you're doing this. You're committing. You're capitalizing on Wemby. So, I mean, this would be like, hey, Joe, I know you've got this F-150, but I'm going to give you a Mercedes. Like, you're going to sell the F-150 because you can only drive one car. No. If you need to, you build a wing onto the garage and you figure it out later.
Well, that's the question we're having. I only bring it up today is because I'm seeing these articles that are just, Spurs can't make a mistake with De'Aaron Fox the way Sacramento did, and yada, yada, yada. So we'll get into that. So speaking of not committing, the Dallas Cowboys very with one Micah Parsons, and he seems to be getting frustrated with this whole thing.
I don't know anyone who isn't frustrated with it. Like, unless you are, Jones, I don't know how you can have any opinion other than that this is way more down the rabbit hole than anybody ever wanted to get. And what's more is we all knew this and felt this way about Dak and CD and those deals. And we specifically said, you better not do this. We better not get to training camp and you're doing this BS again. And here we are, 2 days out from reporting, you guys, whatever, a week out from reporting, and it's here. There is no logic, Joe. There's none. Like, there are times where people will say things like that, and there's actually a little bit of logic, right? Like, say somebody wants to trade De'Aaron Fox. You can make a logical argument why that's the case. You cannot. There's not a logical justification that any person can conceive that justifies doing it this way.
Visiting with RJ Ochoa, blogging the boys. And, RJ, look, we know this is kind of Jerry's MO, or at least it has been lately. Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, now Micah Parsons. And the list is going to go on and on, I have a feeling, because there's some other guys that will come up next year. We know Jerry does this. The question is that I can't figure out sometimes, and we talk about it, but is why? Why does Jerry do it this way? Do you have any clue?
I like to think of questions like this in a way that my dad used to ask me when I was young and would do or defend something stupid. He would say, okay, if you were a lawyer in a court of law and you had to defend this, right? Like if I was getting paid to defend this line of thinking from the Cowboys, the best things that I can come up with are, one, they're incompetent. That's it. Like that's one of the options. Like, truly, that they just truly do not understand something that is this bare bones, basic common sense. That's idea number one. Idea number two is that they are in it for the attention. They're in it for the clout, and they are fine. They are fine signing clout to a certain amount of salary cap space every year. If it costs $5 million more to drag it out this way, but they were leading First Take every day, it was totally worth it to them. That is strange because they're going to have that clout no matter what. But again, we're trying to make sense out of nothing here. And the final idea, again, and I find this to be preposterous, but other people who understand business things more than I do have suggested it, is that they're cash poor, that while they have all this amassed worth in life, they don't have the liquid cash assets for signing bonus money, and so they're putting it off until they can rob Peter to pay Paul. Again, I find that to be insane, but we're at a place where you have to consider some things to try to justify their way to going about it.
Well, it doesn't make any sense in this case because, again, just all the problems it brings. And I kind of go back to what you said. I don't know if that was 1, 2, or 3, but the second one, I think Jerry likes the attention, even though he gets it anyway. But once we arrive at training camp in Oxnard, every question to Jerry, to Steven, to anybody that wants to talk is going to be about Micah Parsons. And it baffles me that you want that conversation going on other than, hey, you guys did pretty well in the free agent market, or this guy looks great, or whatever. It's all going to be Micah Parsons until he signs his deal.
Yeah, and I think that, what I'm interested in, and obviously my ultimate hope and wish is for the team to have success, but I think that there are a lot of people who want to see this not blow up in their face, but obviously people want to see some change. They don't want this to be the case anymore. And if there is one person, right, if there is a Harry Potter, a boy who lives, so to speak, who can survive the Avada Kedavra from Lord Voldemort, in this context, it's Micah. Look, I love Dak, I love CD, and I think they're phenomenal players, but they're not the outspoken personality that Micah is, right? Micah is a very different person. And I always thought it was silly, and I know we talked about this in New Orleans, how they were saying, oh, we want to see Micah be a leader. We want to see Micah do this offseason. I always thought that was stupid because he literally showed up all of last year. At any point last year, he could have held out. He could have really pressed on the team not having the Dak or CD situations taken care of and really manipulated that to his advantage. So this idea that now was the time to prove it was already a level of misunderstanding to me. But my point is, I mean, if Micah wants to make this difficult, I believe he has the potential in a way that other players don't to make it particularly difficult because of the platform he's built for himself, because of his magnetic personality. And he doesn't seem interested in that, to be clear. But I would kind of like to see it because these antics have to stop. They benefit nobody, and they only hinder the overall team building abilities they have.
I was RJ Ochoa. If you missed any of that interview, you can catch it in its full entirety on sasportstar.com in the audio vault. RJ Ochoa brought to you, and along with all of our guests, via the Buyers Barricades guest line, who provides traffic control, rental, and sales for San Antonio and beyond, online at buyersbarricades.com. Look, and Sam says Jerry doesn't even know why he does it that way. I don't believe that Jerry doesn't know. I believe Jerry knows. And I don't want to believe it's because of financial gain. I don't know if the Cowboys are cash poor. I find that hard to believe when billionaires cry poor. But maybe his assets are tied up in other places, so he doesn't want to move that money until it's had proper time to accrue whatever interest is on that money that he has in the savings before moving it over to escrow. Maybe. Or maybe he just loves being in the news. And if you sign him, the news cycle ends. The longer he remains unsigned, at least through the off season, you carry the story and the narrative. You sign him, all of a sudden it's another big story that leads all blocks early in training camp. Nothing is missed or goes wrong. And then football season's in full effect. Maybe it's his way of constantly keeping it all the attention on the Dallas Cowboys. Wish there was a better way to do that without hanging your players out to dry like that. This has been Extra Innings with Pledger. I am James Pledger here on San Antonio Sports Star 941 FM, sasportstar.com. I am Pledger on all socials. You can follow the station at SA Sports Star. I appreciate all y'all for rolling along with me tonight. We got Rangers coming up next as they open up a series with the Tigers in Arlington. Call your loved ones, check on them. You never know what anybody's going through in life. We'll see you Monday.
Ladies and gentlemen, the weekend.
Hey, Green Gobbler here. So you've got a clogged drain in your bathroom. Water in the sink's overstaying its welcome. You're spitting today's toothpaste on top of yesterday's toothpaste. You hope that it go away. Yeah, clogs don't just go away. I make them go away. I'm Green Gobbler, the only clog dissolver you need.